All right, hey patrons, welcome back to our Tactical Rifleman patron page and this month's story time with Carl video. Trying to come up with a topic, what to tell you all about, right? Story time with Carl should have funny stories. So anyways, I decided to talk about rockets. Everybody likes rockets. One of my favorite rockets, not really a rocket, it's actually a recoilless cannon. It's called the Carl Gustav. I'm kind of a big fan of the name of it. It's a 100-something millimeter recoilless rifle. It's a nice little small thing, fires rounds, and it's great. It's a great weapon. Every A-team has so many of them. They're just great rounds. They make a high explosive dual purpose round for like taking out tanks or bunkers. They make a flechette round, which is like a big beehive round filled with nails with fins on the back of them. They even make an illumination round that you can shoot up into the air, and it basically deploys a parachute, and it's a big burning chunk of magnesium that comes down and it lights all up the ground. It's great for letting you see in the dark. Great thing. I've never shot one at a bad guy. Always wanted to, but I never actually got to kill anybody with a Carl Gustav rocket. But we got to train with them a lot. We got to train with all the different kinds of rockets. Cool part about the Carl Gustav is it literally, the shock wave of this thing hitting you, I mean, it literally rattles your whole body, right? That's part of why I've got Dane Bramage. And they actually have a way of measuring it. So like if you shoot they have a scale, 100 points. And so if you shoot I want to say the HEDP round, dual purpose round, or flechette round, that's 20 points. So you can basically shoot 5 of them in one day in training. And that gives you 100 points. They say that's the max you're allowed to shoot, which nobody shoots 5 rounds in one day. I mean, even training, you might get to shoot 1 round, maybe 2 rounds. Nobody gets to shoot 5 rounds. Now, actually, the illumination round is 100 points. Just shooting it one time is 100 points. And the reason for that is you're not shooting a small projectile, you're shooting a big, huge chunk of burning magnesium, so it takes a lot of force to get it up to altitude. But you're also not shooting it like this, you're shooting it up, and because of that, the shock wave actually reflects off the ground, and you're getting hit twice as much. You're getting hit from the actual round firing, plus the shock wave coming back off the ground. So just firing one of those is worth 100 points. And the reason why they do that is back in World War II, actually after World War II, they had all these World War II vets that were just all of a sudden dying. And, right, that's what guys do, they die. But this was they were all out of the military. And when doing the autopsies, they found that their aortic arch off the top of their heart was basically torn and ruptured. And they went back and they did a study and they checked, and all these guys dying after the war from ruptured aortic arches were all 107 recoilless rifle gunners. They had fired so many of these recoilless rifle rounds, not just World War II, but all the way through Korea. I think they were still using them Vietnam era also. But so they did the same type thing. They set up a standard that you could only fire so many of the rounds. And the reason why I even know that is our weapons guys, our Bravos, I was at 18 Delta, our weapons guys were 18 Bravos. In the Q course, they actually fired these M107 recoilless rifles because there were still so many nations in the world that were still using them. Our Green Berets weapons guys needed to be able to train with them. It was a great setup. It actually had a magazine of spotter rounds of 50 cals that shot first tracers, and then once you got on target, you could toggle off the actual recoilless rifle round. Very effective for killing tanks, usually mounted on a Jeep or something like that. But the Carl Gustav, basically the modern version of that, but smaller. Picture it fires kind of like an RPG does, but it's much, much larger. Woo, it's a large, awesome thing. And then there's some other thing, rockets we would shoot. This one right here is the old M79 Law rocket. Great little one-shot disposable rocket. And they've been around since Vietnam era. And then we got into larger ones called the AT-4, the small D, a lot of similar rockets like that. Now we still have larger anti-tank missiles, the Javelin, even before that, the Dragon missile. I got to fire a Dragon once. Got to fire a lot of these things. So anyways, I like shooting rockets. Now there are modern versions of a lot of these rockets. I'm kind of dating myself. Do y'all remember the old Arnold Schwarzenegger movie called Commando, where he had this 4-barrel rocket launcher, come square, you extend it kind of like you do this Law, and that was a real rocket system back in the day. It's called M202 Flash. And they were just phasing them out of the Army when I joined the Army. Yeah, I actually got to fire some of them white phosphorus rockets while I was in Korea. Good time, good time. Small, not very effective, not a lot of range. Still something fun. I can actually say I've fired that thing that Arnold shot in that movie Commando. Kind of cool. So anyways, I have a cool rocket story. It's called, people say, hey, let me tell you the story about Sergeant Major Erickson and the Rockets. So anyways, I did this overland expedition, and my navigator, Keith Gipple, he was there, and at the campsite, I came walking up to the campfire, and he was actually telling the story about me and rockets. It's kind of cool. You know, I think I will share that story with my patrons. I hope I can tell it as well as Keith does. I don't exaggerate quite as bad as some of these other guys do. It's kind of like going fishing. Every time they tell that story, the fish keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Keith was actually one of my team sergeants when I was company sergeant major. And part of my job, and I didn't want to be a sergeant major, I didn't really, but when they offered me the job, I originally turned it down, but my wife reminded me that sergeant major retirement pay is a lot more than master sergeant retirement pay, and retirement pay is for the rest of your life. So anyway, so I took the promotion to sergeant major with the understanding that I would get back my old assault unit, A15, and I did. Truth be told, they gave me my old unit, which was cool because I started out as sniper cell leader, sniper team sergeant, all the way up through company sergeant major, all in the same unit, which is completely unheard of. So I was very, very lucky, very blessed in that case. When I became sergeant major, one, I've always hated sergeant majors because most of them lose focus of what their actual job is. To me, to be a leader, you've got two jobs: accomplish the mission and care and welfare of the troops. That's it. That's it. That's it. If you accomplish the mission and you take care of the troops, everything else comes out in the wash. But unfortunately, so many commanders, officers, and sergeant majors, they get so hung up on keeping higher happy because they don't want to get yelled at, or they're worried about making that next promotion. Is it that bad to really retire as a major? Is it that bad to really retire as a colonel or a one-star general? Is it that important to make your second star? I mean, as a sergeant major, I'm an E9. There's no E10. You're as high as it can go. So promotions, medals, none of that shit matters. What matters to me is after you've gotten out and you're at the airport or you're going somewhere, and you'll see an officer walk by, or a sergeant major or somebody. You'll see somebody walk by, and you'll hear guys say, "You see that guy right there? That guy was a piece of shit. He was a piece of shit. He walked all over us to make his career better so that he would get promoted, blah, blah, blah." But then you'll see other guys walk by, and you'll see guys say, "You see that guy right there? that guy was an awesome leader. I would follow him through the gates of hell if he asked me to. That, to me, is the difference. That's respect, okay? That's respect earned by leadership, not by rank. So anyways, to me, I don't care whether people like me, dislike me. I don't care. My whole thing was we will accomplish the mission no matter what, no matter what. I lived in the gray area because I was a Green Beret. Was it always legal? Perhaps not, but we always accomplished the mission. And then number two, care and welfare of the troops. So anyways, that was my big thing. So it was this particular trip where we had all these rockets. We were assigned to Raptor Base, and Raptor Base is right at the Baghdad International Airport, right there. Back in the day, that was a big military compound right there in downtown Baghdad. You had the air base, military air base right across the street from us. On the other side of the air strips was the actual international airport. But there were military little bases, Camp Liberty, all these little camps wrapped all the way around it. Camp Raptor Base, what we call it, Area 4, was the home of the Iraqi Special Operations Brigade. So you had 36 Commando, and you had the ICTF, the Iraqi Counterterrorist Force. ICTF, they were basically Iraq's Delta Force, lack of a better term. And these guys were awesome. They were led just by us and another SIF company. These guys had Paraclete body armor, Mitch helmets, PVS-7s or PVS-14s, M4 rifles with PQ2s, lasers. They had M203s. They had Berettas with gun lights, Safariland holsters, M24 sniper rifles with PVS-10 night scopes, day-night scopes on them. They had a lot better equipment than a lot of our U.S. Army units had, serious as a heart attack. That's how important it was that the Iraqi military have a special ops unit that could lead from the front. So we trained them, we led them. Now, you guys hear me joke about that I no longer shower with a pistol. But the reality is yes, while we were on Raptor Base, these were our Jundis, these were our Iraqis. We went to combat with them, but you never really trust them 100%. So me come out of the building to go to the little trailer that had the showers in it, these people walk around everywhere. You never go anywhere without a gun. So I actually would, in my little Ranger panties or my towel wrapped around my waist, carrying my shaving kit, I would still have my pistol with me when I went to go take a shower. So we didn't trust these Iraqis nowhere. Not at all. You take them on ops, there were some great guys, but we did know for a fact that the unit was infiltrated with Mahdi militia. There was a lot of Shia in there that were not pro-American. Anyways, that's another story. So we're down there, my one SIF company, and we are leading, I have half my company there, me the company commander, one troop. The team sergeants leading the different assault troops of the ICTF, one team working with the commandos. And we're basically under another battalion command from 10th Group. Was, I don't even remember the sergeant major's name. They were at RPC, which was one of Saddam's palaces at the other end of the airfield. It's actually the palace that I got my picture of Saddam from during the initial invasion. Kind of cool palace. The guy had a 10-foot deep swimming pool, freshwater swimming pool in his master bedroom. Yes, that's right, he did. Saddam had a bunch of great palaces. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. But anyways, that palace was what the RPC, Rawadi Palace Complex, that's where our battalion command was. And then our Starfleet command was up in Balad, further north in Iraq. And that is actually where my battalion commander from 5th Special Forces Group, my battalion sergeant major was. They were up in Balad. And so my battalion commander was up in Balad, and he's telling me to do all these things. And then I had the local commander at RPC, their sergeant major and commander, telling me to do all these things. All I care about is accomplishing the mission with my guys. Task Force Raptor was the unit that was always getting the job done. If another unit got in an area where like the bad guy hid inside of a mosque, they wouldn't even go in it. They would cordon the area, they'd call in Task Force Raptor, we'd fly in or drive in. We'd go hit it. Very, very high success rate. Great unit. But all the paperwork that goes on back in the States that you normally wouldn't have to worry about in a combat zone, I still had to worry about because half of my unit was still back at home at Fort Campbell. So I'm still having to deal with all that paperwork. And my battalion sergeant major, same thing. He had part of his unit back there, including part of mine. And he's very big on making sure all this stuff gets done. Okay, fine. Well, again, remember, accomplish the mission. I'm doing that in Iraq. But part 2 is welfare of the troops, take care of the troops. Now, I had a troop that had to go to a school, and it's like at a last minute thing, he needed to go. And instead of sending him to a combat zone and then sending him home to go to the school and then bring him back over the combat zone, his team sergeant's like, hey, let's leave him back here. He can get ready for the school. Once he's done with the school, then he can fly over and meet us in Baghdad. All right, cool, completely good with that. Makes total sense. Why? One, he needs to have enough troops to take care of accomplishing the mission. Does he have that? He has that. He checked, he has that. He can accomplish mission. Okay, cool. So that soldier wasn't mission essential. And then 2, we're taking care of the troop, right? I have no problem with it at all. Well, we get over to Baghdad, and we're there about a month, and my sergeant major up there in Balad finds out, hey, wait a minute, this guy is back in the rear. He's supposed to be over here with his team. Yeah, team sergeant wanted to leave him back, blah, blah, blah. He's getting ready to go to his school, and I supported him on it. Hold the phone out, right? And so my office, my desk was in ops, our ops center. And so we had all these big flat screen TVs for watching the Predator feeds and satellites and everything. And we were running, I remember Task Force Raptor was running, we had ops going on every night, sometimes 2 or 3 different missions going on every night. So all the desks in front of me were the guys running the Predator drones, the guys running ops, the runs coordinating quick reaction forces, the ops warrant officer, the company commander sitting next to me. Our desks were raised up in the back so we could see everything going on in front of us. So I would get in arguments with this sergeant major, command sergeant major, over the phone, and everybody'd be like looking. He was literally yelling so loud you could hear, everybody could hear this phone. And well, he started yelling once. He wasn't even making coherent sentences, so I hung up on him. And they all just kind of looked back at me. I'm like, don't worry, he'll call me back. Yeah, sure enough, he did. He immediately called me back. Anyway, so back to this soldier. The battalion command sergeant major wanted me to write this team sergeant a counseling statement to put in his records for leaving this soldier back. And the sergeant major's like, and I want to see it. You have him sign it, and then you scan it and you email it to me. Okay, cool. So I wrote this team sergeant up a counseling statement saying, great job, you did exactly what I would have done. You're taking care of your troops. Had him sign it, send it off to Balad. Yeah, that wasn't what this sergeant major wanted, not at all. Blah, 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 blah. I got combat ops going on, I don't care. So anyways, this goes back and forth for a while. He ends up sending me a counseling statement. First he yells at me over the phone for a while, and the whole time I'm correcting, they're called NCOERs, non-commissioned officer evaluation reports, NCOERs. All my sergeants underneath me, part of my job is to double check this paperwork, make sure it's correct, so I'm helping them take care of all their troops underneath them. Now, if there's a problem, something they haven't written right, they've typos, wrong spacing, because all this paperwork's important because this is the paperwork that goes before a promotion board. It's not the individual soldier or sergeant, it's just this paperwork. And when we want our guys to get promoted, so therefore the better attention we pay to making sure their records are stellar, the better chance my troops get promoted. Remember, this comes back to taking care of the troops. So I have my red pen, the coveted red pen. If I make corrections, I do it in red, so when I give it back to you, you can fix it, you quickly send it back to me, we're good to go. So anyways, I get another phone call. The sergeant major is sending me, he's gonna email me this counseling statement. I'm supposed to concur, sign, and send it back to him so he can put it into my military record. So he's basically chewing my ass. So he sends it to me, I click print, I tell one of my guys to bring it to me out of the printer, other side of the room. I'm reading this thing, and dude, this is a command sergeant major. You would think he had mastered the English language by now. There's just mistakes all over this. So anyways, I grabbed my red pen and I red ink the shit out of this counseling statement and scanned it to him and sent it back to him in an email for corrections. Yeah, he never sent it back to me. He never did. He didn't even call me back after that. He left me alone for a while. Okay, it's no big deal, because working with the ICTF, we had combat ops going on all the time. Now, part of those combat ops is you're in an area, you're right in Baghdad, and there's a lot of attacks that happen at checkpoints, everything else. Now, Task Force Raptor is right up against the wall. There are guard towers on the main wall that goes all the way around the thing. And we've got our soccer fields that we land all of our helicopters on, and our back motor pool parking lot at night. When you come back from dinner, you know, you just woke up, you go do dinner, hit the gym, you come out, getting ready for that night's ops, and you look out and there might be 2 rows of Humvees already parked in a row. Miniguns on the lead vehicles, 50 cals, 240s on the rest. They've all been test fired, they're ready to go. Soccer fields covered with helicopters, so that lets you know, hey, we have a motorized ops tonight and we've got a helicopter op tonight. Okay, no big deal. Common stuff at Task Force Raptor. We also have, we had an indoor shoot house and an indoor flat range, bought with your taxpayers' money, by the way, $25 million. Thank you very much. Thanks for spending that money for us. We had an outdoor sniper range, 600-meter sniper range, a bunch of other flat ranges outdoors. Great training facility, but then you had all the areas where the Iraqis were. Their areas where they live. Now, if you attack the base, now you could get onto the airfield, breach the wire anyway, you could get onto the airfield, but from there, if you were to try to attack Raptor base, you could get into the areas where all the Iraqis are. Now, that's the outer ring. Now, remember, these are the Iraqi Delta Force. These guys have got their own Humvees, 240 machine guns. They've all got M4s. They've got sniper rifles. They've got everything. If you were to get through all of them, you'd get through into our inner perimeter where just the U.S. Green Berets were at. And we had a SEAL platoon attached to us. But that was what we called the Alamo. Now, whenever there were heightened threats, we had places on the walls where there was like a berm right next to the wall, and that was so you could pull a vehicle up high enough next to the wall that would allow the crew serve weapons up top to shoot down over the walls without, otherwise you'd have to wait for the bad guys to come over the walls. So we had our inner perimeter, our Alamo, and up on top of all the buildings where we lived, our barracks, and they're all solid concrete buildings. There were wall lockers on each floor that had 240 machine guns in them, and cases of ammo and everything, and bunkers built up on the ceiling. So if the call came out, Alamo, 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 everybody knew, put your kit on, and you could go man this perimeter here. We had everything. I mean, every time a new unit came in, we would always bring more ammo with us to train with, and your initial combat basic load. Now, some combat ops you're using a lot of ammo, but usually not. You usually don't shoot that much. I've gone whole deployments without firing a round at a bad guy. I put on lots of flex cuffs, shit like that, throwing lots of flashbangs, but a lot of times you just wouldn't shoot people. They would give up. They were smart enough, they'd give up. We always brought all this stuff, and at the end of a deployment, if we didn't shoot up all of our training ammo, we'd leave it there for the next unit. We had whole Sealand containers. That's those tractor-trailer truck boxes that you put on ships. That's what we had, those lined up, filled with ammo, explosives, rockets, M203, grenades, mines, you name it. We had everything, because this was 2009 time frame, and they stood up the ICTF in 2003. So basically, for all these years, for 6 years, we had been stockpiling all this stuff. We had tons of stuff. Oh man, you didn't stand a chance hitting Raptor base. You didn't, because we only needed to last long enough for the sun to go down, and then once you got a Spectre gunship over us, we were going to win the fight. We were going to win the fight. But that said, we could only do that because we were well planned, well rehearsed. We had a solid plan. We had a solid plan. Well, again, sitting at the desk watching ops, I get a phone call. It's that phone number on the phone. Command Sergeant Major up at Balad. Yes, Sergeant Major, what can I do for you? Carl, I need you to check your serial numbers on all your rockets. We got a team that's missing a rocket. Okay, shouldn't you be checking them then? If they're missing a rocket, shouldn't you be like checking under their bed or out? I'm 600 miles away from them. Why are you asking me? Well, we're checking everybody in country. Roger that. All right, I'll check, Sergeant Major. So I'm like, send me the serial number. He's like, what? I'm like, serial number. Send me the serial number for the rocket that you're missing, and I'll look for it. Apparently, he didn't even know they had serial numbers on them. So anyways, it's an AT-4 rocket. It's a big, long rocket, single-shot rocket, about 3 times the size of this Law rocket here. Great rockets, they are. They're awesome. Turns out they're missing 2, by the way. They're not missing 1, they're missing 2. He emails me the serial numbers. They go all around base. The other Sergeant Major, he contacts me also, letting me know they're looking for rockets. I go check with my team sergeants. Hey guys, check your rockets for these numbers. Roger that. They go check. I could easily already have remember, we had great accountability of everything. My supply guy could quickly check in his books. It's not one of our serial numbers. Okay, cool. Check it anyways, guys. So we check. We don't have this rocket. They still can't find it. So I tell him over the phone, I'm like, look, we don't have your rocket. He's like, well, I want you to personally check every rocket. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, roger that. Okay, I don't care. So I go check the guy's stuff. We've got, there's like 100 rockets. Now, not all of them are AT-4s, but we've probably got 20 or 30 AT-4 rockets. I don't know how many Carl Gustav rounds, blah, 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 blah. And so anyway, Sergeant Major called me back. He's like, did you personally check this? And I'm like, Sergeant Major, I checked every one of our rockets, blah, blah, blah. He's like, you actually went and put your hands on it, on all 6 of those rockets. I'm like, all 6? I've got like 30 of these things, and I checked every one of them. He's like, what do you mean you have 30 of them? You're only Task Force Raptor is only supposed to have 6 of these rockets. On the books, you only have 6. Yes, we brought 6 here this trip, but remember, we've been stockpiling this stuff since 2003. You're not allowed to have extra. Rah, 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 rah. Okay, fine. I don't care, right? We got to have enough stuff. So he wants to know how much stuff we have. I don't need to lie to anybody, so I go get numbers from my guys, and I was like, holy shit, I didn't realize how much shit we had rocket-wise. Just rockets. We had hundreds of rockets, hundreds. Checked all of them, not that serial number. Command Sergeant Major up at Starfleet Command loses his mind. He's like, you're not allowed to have all of them. You need to get rid of all of them. Get rid of all of them. put them on eBay? What do you want me to do? You want me to blow them all up in a pile? Right? That's a waste of taxpayers' money. I don't care what you do, you get rid of them. Okay, cool. So how do you get rid of that many rockets? Now remember I told you that I had fired laws. I had fired even a Dragon missile. I had fired an M202 Flash. I'd got to fire all this stuff because I'd been in the military for 20 years and I got to do all this stuff in training. So as I walk into the ops room, we're getting ready to do ops at night, and they're like, Sergeant Major, you got anything to add? And I'm like, yeah, hey, Team Sergeants, how many of you guys have fired AT4s? They all raised their hands. I'm like, all right, how many of you, because we got a lot of new guys in the company, and we've been at war for, basically 9 years now. So we haven't had a lot of time for training. How many of you guys have guys on your teams that have not shot an AT4? They're like, well, I got a bunch of guys on my team that haven't. Roger that. All right. 1300 on Saturday. Wake everybody up early at 1 p.m. We are going to, we're going to have a rocket training range. We're going to get rid of all these rockets we're not allowed to have. We're not going to waste them. We're going to actually do training. So I want to say that was like Monday. So I told them we're going to do it on Saturday. So all week long, people start talking about it and everything. Hey, Sergeant Major, we're also going to do the law rockets. They're like, yeah, why? And they're like, well, because we got a bunch of the new thermobaric laws that we want to shoot. And, we got a bunch of them. I figured we keep 3 or 4 of them for missions. But we want to see what this thing will actually do. None of us have ever shot a thermobaric law. Sure, why not? Bring them along. Got guys come, hey, Sergeant Major, we've got all these Carl Gustav rounds. A lot of us have never fired a Carl Gustav. We'll save so many of each type for combat. We still got them loaded on the vehicles and stuff. Can we shoot some of these other ones? Sure, bring them along. No big deal. Bring them along. We're gonna do it. Then I want to say it was about Thursday. They're like, hey, Carl, hey, Sergeant Major, we got one of the doctors over at the Air Force Hospital across the street over on the air base. He went out on one of the missions with us and everything. He's one that helped us out with some of our wounded Iraqis. He heard we're doing this rocket range. He wants to know if he can come shoot one. I thought about that, and taking care of your neighbors, especially people that you need, for example, the customs guys, to make it easier for you to clear customs to come home. Those are people that you want to be your friends. So you want to be able to take care of your cooks, your finance people, your doctors, your nurses, your mechanics, all these things. So I thought about it. I was like, this is a great chance for us to say thank you for supporting us at Raptor Base. Because we're a rough neighbor, we are. Remember, we don't test fire our guns till right before sundown. We're always making a hell of a lot of noise. We're the only ones that are bringing casualties back. We're always bringing back Iraqi prisoners. We're the ones that are keeping everybody busy here. So I'm like, sure, here's who I want you to invite. So they're inviting nurses, they're inviting customs people, all these people, everything. So come Saturday, I finish lunch and we drive out to the sniper range. We're going to do this at the ICTF sniper range. We drive out there and you come out, actually, when I drive my SUV out there, you actually drive past the other ranges and you pop out onto the sniper range at about the 100-meter line. So the targets are over here to my right, and then back to the left is where the berms go back to 600 meters, the back wall. And I see they've put out some car hulks, and they've made a sandbag bunker there. I'm assuming that's for the thermobaric laws and stuff. Like, okay, that's cool. I turn the corner, and I look, and there's 40 vehicles up there. A bunch of trucks filled up. They got piles, stacks of rockets, everything. Okay, cool. So I drive up there, and there's a bunch of Air Force people there, and they've got their helmets. They were told they had to bring a helmet. Nobody told them to be in uniform and boots. So they're all, because it's hot out. So they're all in t-shirts and their little Air Force shorts with their little white ankle socks and their sneakers. I don't care. They're very cute to look at. So anyways, okay, we're going to start with, let's start with the laws. I got piles of all these things, and okay, cool. So got all my guys there, and I'm like, all right, who's going to shoot the law first? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, one of you guys give the class to these new people. Let the Air Force people shoot first. Give them a class on the law. And the guy's got the law, and he's like, I'm like, what's wrong? It's like, I don't remember exactly how to do this. Now, these are my weapons guys. Now remember, they're great assaulters. They're great at doing all this door kicking stuff. They're not that good with rockets. Fortunately, when I earned my EIB, my expert field, my expert infantryman's badge, one of the tasks that you got tested on was the M79, the M whatever law rocket. I don't even remember what this thing's called anymore. So here we go. M72 A3 HE rocket, 66 millimeter. Okay, so anyway, so I grabbed it out of his hands. I was like, okay, here's what you do. You grab it like this, you reach across with the pin, you rack it down, grasp, extend it, rack it up over your shoulder. You're gonna pull to release the safety. This is your trigger right here. You observe through the rear aperture here, line up the elevation on your window, and when you're on target, you check your back blast area clear, and then you push the button, you'll hear the click, bang. Anyway, so I gave the class on it, and because I was the guy that gave the class, I ended up standing there, and I made sure that the training was being done correctly. So anyways, we started with the Air Force, a bunch of Air Force chicks, and they fired a few of the laws. I'm like, okay, what do we got next? We're gonna do the thermobaric laws. Okay, so they fire, a couple of my guys fire thermobaric laws. Thermobaric, the way it works is it creates a overpressure. So it's cool, the law went right in the window of the sandbag bunker they'd built, and it just blew up. The overpressure just threw sandbags, everything. It was awesome, awesome. So we fire a couple of them, and then we get to the, we were doing the AT-4s after that, big long rockets. And I specifically remember, now remember, I'm not sure if my guys, because a lot of my Green Berets are young, and they're taking turns helping them out and everything, but I'm basically standing there the whole time supervising, making sure training's done correctly. And remember this one, you got to elevate it a little bit. You're supposed to be looking through the sight, but they basically, I remember it was a he or she, it's Air Force, so they're all female. Panicked, and basically when they hit the trigger, went like this, boom, that AT-4 went out 400, 300, 200, 1 meter line, the back berm, the concrete wall on the edge of Area 4, it's a 40-foot tall wall, went right over the wall, and we hear the boom off base. Anyways, I told a couple of my guys to go check, and our defense behind it is a small village, but it's a long ways out, and that's all, I want to say it's like lettuce fields out there, and I'm hoping hard that there's nobody out there picking lettuce right now. Fortunately, there wasn't, or so I was told. The guys went and checked, they came back, there was nothing out there. But they didn't just miss the car they were shooting at. They didn't just miss by 50 feet. They missed the whole shooting range. That's how bad this guy was with this rocket. Crazy. So we shoot them. We got to the Carl Gustavs, the recoilless cannons. These things are awesome. And you hit this car, and I mean, it'll spin the car around 2-3 times. It'll flip the car backwards. We're just bouncing these cars all over the place. Probably 50% of the rounds are missing. But we had some flechette rounds. A beehive round is basically that round for the Carl Gustav. It looked like a 105 howitzer shell you put in the back, a giant shotgun shell, except it's filled with these little nails. Literally, there's thousands of these nails in here, and they've got little fins on the back of them. And we had some of those plastic military E-type targets out there sitting way, way out back. 20 inches wide. I want to say they're 40 inches tall. We got them staked in the ground, kind of like troops in the open would be. And we're shooting these beehive rounds at them. I remember this one Air Force girl, she wanted them to take pictures of her shooting it because her husband was in the Army and he never got a chance to shoot all this stuff. He was in the regular Army. So she wanted the picture so she could rub it in his face. I remember shooting all these flechette rounds, which was kind of cool. It's kind of anticlimactic because you don't get the big explosion of the cars blowing up and everything. The one thing about flechette rounds, though, is they are a gift that keeps on giving. For about the next 2 weeks, you got to remember, these clouds of buckshot fins were laying everywhere all over the sniper range. And that part of the sniper range, everybody would always drive back and forth to go to the other ranges. And I think we had 2-3 dozen flat tires just in the course of the next week or two. They don't go away. It's not like the rain melts them. Those little nails just stay sticking everywhere in the sand. I think I had 2 alone just on my personal Sergeant Major SUV. So anyways, funny stuff. A great range. I got on the phone the next day and told the Sergeant Major that I had done what he said. I got rid of all of my rockets that I wasn't supposed to have. I got great training for my guys. And every one of the guys in that troop that was there, every one of those Americans had a chance to fire and train with each one of those weapons. And that's important because all of their Humvees that they would take on missions had Carl Gustavs, they had Law rockets, they had AT-4s. And if you need a rocket in the middle of a gunfight, you expect to be able to send that steely-eyed stormtrooper to go get a rocket, and you expect him to be able to properly put it into operation and hit what he's shooting at. So it is important. God knows how much taxpayers' money we spent that day. So anyways, I got done with my phone call, doing the paperwork. I let Sergeant Major know, got rid of all my rockets. And I'm walking out, was gonna go back, I don't know where I was heading, and came out of the ops room, and the medic, the BT medic, was coming the other way, and he looked at me and he goes, "Sergeant Major, you're a crazy motherfucker." Kind of a fucked up thing to say to a Sergeant Major, the senior non-commissioned officer in your unit, but it kind of took me back a little bit, and I was like, "What?" He said, "Sergeant Major, you're a crazy motherfucker." What are you talking about? And he said, "You remember way back, you were taught about Carl Gustavs, how you're not supposed to have more than 100 points in one day." It's like, yeah, you're not supposed to have more than 100 points. You're not supposed to shoot more than 5 rounds in one day. He said, "Yeah, Sergeant Major, you stayed there from the start of the rocket range, standing right next to the shooter all day long. They must have shot 50 Carl Gustav rounds. They must have shot 50 Laws. I don't know how many AT-4s. You should be dead right now. You're a crazy motherfucker." And he turned around and walked off. And I thought about it, and that don't make me crazy. That makes me dumb. D-U-M. Dumb. So, yeah, I have Dane Bramage a little bit. I hope you enjoy this month's story time with Carl. Sorry, no crazy war stories this time. Just a story about using up a lot of taxpayers' money, getting top quality training that you just can't get anywhere else on the planet. So again, I want to thank all of you for your continued support, being a patron of this fine YouTube channel we have here. And y'all know the deal. I will see y'all here next week while we do our question and answer video, and then right at the end of the month we're going to do our live stream video. So y'all take care. Shoot straight.